Alright, so in section 6, we're talking about exponents in order of operations. So in the text, they talk about the order of operations. And so here's where you've heard the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, or parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. That's just a way for us to remember the rules. But this is kind of a more formal definition of how we are going to go about evaluating an expression. And so the parentheses is first, then we're going to do exponents, then we're going to do multiplication and division left to right, and then we're going to do addition and subtraction as they occur left to right. So the left to right is kind of lost when you say that please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, and you just say parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. You really have to get this left to right piece in here. But before that, in the text, it talks about the exponents and the rules for exponents, and it defines what an exponent is. And so please make sure you're reading this section just to know that you have some base and a power, an exponent. And so 3 to the 5th means that I have 3 written down 5 times, and I'm going to multiply those numbers. So looking at some of the problems from the text, we can look at the first one. We have multiplication, we have subtraction, we have division. And so I have to do my multiplication and division pieces before I subtract. So please excuse my dear multiplication, division. So those have to be done before I do subtraction. So I could go ahead and say multiply this first, divide these, and then finally I'm going to subtract. So it just gives us some rules to follow so we can get the correct value. On this one, -3 cubed. So when I see that cubed raised to the 3rd power, that means I have -3 written 3 times. And I'm going to multiply those values. If you're doing it on technology, on a calculator, you've got to be very careful with your parentheses. And I'll get a calculator up here a second so I can show you that. Looking at another one, like this one, -4 squared. Again, the parentheses are important. You have -4 times -4 because it's squared. So we learned in previous sections that a negative times a negative is a positive, correct? And so we know this answer is going to be positive, but if we put it into our calculator wrong, we're going to have an error. So that's operator error if we type it into the calculator wrong. So we have to be careful. And in this section, there are just some meaty problems where you have to follow your order of operations. When you do have a fraction, I suggest do everything on the top and then do everything on the bottom and follow your order of operations. So the very last thing you would do is possibly divide those values. Top number divided by bottom number. So I'm going to do a couple problems with the supplement. Oh, let me show you real quick on a calculator what would occur. There's a free graphing calculator, but we're just going to use its basic features. So Desmos. And if I were to type in on this calculator or any other calculator, if I type in -4, close parentheses, and then square it, I get the answer of 16. But if we carelessly in our calculator type in -4 and then square it, we're going to get a negative value because the only thing that it's squaring is the 4. And then the last thing it's going to do is say negative. So make sure in your calculators, if you're computing these, that you understand that with the parentheses and without the parentheses, those are different. And I'll make a quick supplement for some of the ideas from section 6.